Dear participants, we will go ahead with Dr. Ramamurthy's session. Over to Ramamurthy, sir.
Good morning, everyone present in this webinar. I thank the office bearers of ASIFSM, Tamil Nadu, President and Secretary and patrons, all the office bearers of this association, for having given me a wonderful opportunity to interact with all faculty fraternity regarding the essentials of a research proposal today. Of course, my session would be in second, but due to some unavoidable circumstances, Jaikumar sir was not able to come online. So I started first. However, this is also a chance to learn what is the essentials of the research proposals. Then you can listen to Jaikumar sir, what are all the, or where are all you can apply national as well as in international level. With this, the first note, I would like to present my small thoughts on the essentials of a research proposal. In general, whether you do PhD research or MPhil research, or when you send the proposal to various education agencies and industries and international organizations for funding, we are not very much sure about how we have to prepare the research proposals. So the research proposal is most essential thing to get fund. Even when you go for the research, this is the first point. Every researcher should prepare well in advance so that they can be very confident. They will be able to know what they are going to do in future. So the research proposal is very much important for the researchers, whatever may be the research, either it may be MPhil research or PhD research, or it may be sending for the funding projects. So then we will see what is research proposal. As I was telling you earlier, whether it is academic research like leading to PhD, MPhil, or even for PhD students going for projects, whatever it may be. So the research proposal, as I was telling you, is very much important. Then what is research proposal? Everybody know how to do research. See, when we start the research projects, we will be used to go for the what you call the preparation of objective, formation of objective, hypothesis, everything we will do. Then review of literature also we will do to establish our stand. But what is the coherent method? What are all the essential items should be there in the research proposal? First of all, we must know what is a research proposal. A research proposal describes what you will investigate, why it is important, how will you do the research, and what is the likely outcome. This must be there. So the research proposal is a action plan, or it is a plan of action. The format of a research proposal varies between fields, but most proposals should contain at least some of the elements which are going to be discussed today. So what will you investigate, or what are you going to investigate? That will be the problem. So every research project must start with the problem. So unless otherwise you have the problem, no need of the research. So in research, you are going to find the solution or answer for the problem what you identified. So the problem is most important aspect. After identifying the problem, then you have to find the solution for that problem. That is what you are carrying out the research. So the first question, what you will investigate, that is the problem. Then why it is important? Objectives. That is what we call it as the objective. Why we have to do that? Why we have to carry out this particular research? Then how will you do the research? That is what we call it as the methodology. Then what is the likely outcome of the research is known as the findings. So what is the purpose of the research proposal? Again, it is a roadmap for research, because unless otherwise you have the clear-cut idea what are you going to do, it is very difficult to pursue the research further. So it is a roadmap and it is a guideline for each and every one of you when you undertake the research. It is a roadmap for the research. Then intent to convince others that your worthwhile research idea and you have the competence and work plan to complete it, which means when you submit the research proposal, you can submit to anybody, whether it is for your academic research or like PhD, MPhil, or it may be the funding project. When you submit it, you must convince others how you are going to do that, whether your research idea is going to be worthwhile to pursue further or not. So the research proposal will give you the complete idea whether this research work going to be worthwhile or not. Even when you do PhD research or MPhil, after preparing this research proposal, you can submit to some of experts so that they can go through that research proposal. They can give you some ideas to enrich your research work. So each and every research work should start from the research plan. That is, the proposal is nothing but it is a research plan. Then the research proposal's purpose is to sell your idea and convince the person who wants it. Say, suppose if you submit to agencies, funding agencies, they must be convinced. The expert committee will assess your research proposal. Then they evaluate your project, and then they will they should be convinced whether this idea is very good idea or not, is worthwhile to pursue further. So hence, the research proposal is most important in the PhD research as well as for the funding projects. So what are the various essentials should be there in the research proposals? This is a broad area where I'm going to discuss about some of the important ingredients or essentials in the research proposal. Whatever research proposal you prepare, either for your MPhil, PhD or PG students when they prepare for the projects or for your funding projects, you must have these items in your research proposal. This you must clearly think, and you have to prepare the research proposal without any discrepancy in this. So these are all some of the essentials should be there in your projects. The first and foremost thing is the topic or title of your project or your research proposal. The title topic means it is like name of you. Say, when you identify, when you talk or when you tell about your name, we must be able to identify who you are. Likewise, in this first part in the research proposal, your title, the title must be very clear and it should tell about your research proposal, entire research. So the topic must be a summary of whole research. It should depict and it should tell the whole about your research, completeness about your research. So it is a summary of your whole research. Then it should be very short and crisp. I could see there are so many research papers coming or research thesis coming and funding projects also applied. When they have the title, they have very lengthy titles, like very 2-3 lines, 4 lines like that. Even at the time of when the research scholar presenting his research thesis for the PhD viva voce examination, even they are not able to present their title without seeing the book or thesis. So you should not have that kind of research titles. The research title must be very crisp and it should be very short. At the same time, it should be simple and unambiguous. It should be very clear. So as I was telling you earlier, the first is the title. It should be very clear. It should be short and crisp. It should not, any ambiguity should not be there. It should depict the complete theme of your research. That is what we call it as the title. You must fix, when you fix the title, you must be very careful while you fix the title of any research work. The number 2 is the introduction. You have to introduce the topic, to familiarize the topic, to create interest for the reader or the users or the person who wants that project, then to inform the background of the study, then to say about the importance of the study. These are all the items should be given in the introduction part. Then after giving in the title and introduction, then third part is the problem statement. The problem statement is most important aspect in any research project, because the project or the research starts with only with the problem statement. So the problem what you identified, you must put it in the statement, which means whatever problem you identified should be put it in black and white very clearly, which should be able to understand by everyone. So the problem statement helps to contextualize and understand the significance of the research problem. A problem statement can be several paragraphs long and serve as the basis for the research proposal, or it can be condensed into just few sentences. Identification of a research problem for the project, and you have to write it very clearly so that you will be able to understand what is the actual problem. So problem statement is to be conscious, concise, and concrete. Put the problem in context. That means what do we already know? Describe the prices issue that the research will address. What do we need to know? And show the relevance of the problem, then why do we need to know it? So the research problem should address what do we already know, what do we need to know, and why do we need to know it. So this is the problem statement. When we prepare the problem statement, the problem statement either it can be a paragraph, or it can be a few sentences, or with the research we will describe the background of the problem, what we know already about the research problems, and what we need to know. So what we want to address, what is the problem, how we are going to address, what we want to address, that should be clearly given in the format of questions like. So first we have to explain what is the background, and then we have to why we want to know all these things, then what exactly we want to know in a research, it should be put it in the research questions like. So the research problem statement is based on the review of literature. So when you go for the review of literature, then you must be able to identify the gap. Based on the gap you identified, then you have to fix the or frame the problem statement. So then next one is the objectives. The objectives are very important in any project. So objective is aim and the overall purpose of your research. The objectives are the concrete steps you will take to achieve the aim, to be framed accordance with and relevant with the problem statement, and it should find the answer for the research questions raised in the problem statement. The objectives are like main or general or specific and secondary. We can classify the objectives are like main objective and general objective, or specific objectives or secondary objectives. Like that you can classify, which means the objectives in either way you can prepare. Right? Main objective can be framed, then you can tell about the secondary objectives like, right? So specific objective should be specific or main, or general or secondary. Like that we have to frame the objectives. The objectives are to determine something, or to explore something, or to investigate something, or to study something. So the objectives are framed in such a way to determine, or to explore, or to investigate, or to study. Then we have to frame the hypothesis. The hypothesis is nothing but it is a statement. See, after going through your research and going through everything, you will be able to understand what is going to be the result. So what is the ultimate you are going to find out after your research work. So the hypothesis says about it is a mere statement which will give you the complete idea about your research. So hypotheses are predictions about what the research will find exactly. So it is tentative answer to the research question that has not yet been tested. For some research projects might have to write several hypotheses that addresses different aspects of research questions. The hypothesis is not just a guess. It should be based on existing theories and knowledge. It also has to be testable, which means you can support or refute it through scientific research methods such as experiments, observations, and statistical analysis of data. So the hypothesis is the what would be the idea about your research, and what is going to be the likely result after the testing analyzing the data and everything. So hypothesis is more important to be tested. It has to be verified at the end of the research analysis. Then need for the study. See, in general, in PhD thesis or MPhil thesis, normally it is given need for the study. So need for the study is nothing but why we have to carry out this particular study, but it is optional. In the when you go for the funded project, no funded projects asked for the need for the study, but in your MPhil or PhD, some people will insist for the need for the study, but it is not so important. It is optional. Either you want to give it, you can give it, or otherwise it is not, it is not much important in your study. Then scope of the study. The seventh is the scope of the study. It defines the boundaries of the research, the boundaries of your research, which means what is your scope and what are all the areas you covered in your study. Then that is to be defined here. This is also only for the PhD or MPhil research, but it is not asked in the research projects when you submit the projects for the funded organizations. Then limitations. The limitations are nothing but which influence the research cannot control. That is beyond the control of the researcher. They are the shortcomings, conditions, or influences that cannot be controlled by the researcher that place restriction on your methodology and conclusions. Say, for example, when you take a research in the on geographical area, the result cannot be generalized to whole India or whole state or whole world. So that will be your limitations. So the limitations are the influences that you cannot control. The researcher cannot control over it. So it is beyond the control of the researcher. Likewise, say for example, suppose if you take a sample, you cannot take an entire sample for say opinion poll you take. The lot of TV channels are taking the opinion poll. So when they take opinion poll, they cannot conduct the opinion poll with each and every citizen. Instead, they will take sample. Then whatever sampling limitations are there in that particular research, that will exist in the limitation. These are all to be mentioned as the limitations which are beyond the control of the researcher. Then review of literature. The review of literature is most important part in any research because it is the starting point. Only based on the review of literature, we will be able to frame the problem statement and objectives and hypothesis. Hence, the review of literature is formed for the first process. So it is the most important and starting process. Review is to be done with the relevant past studies. Suppose if you take a problem, if you identify one particular topic, you have to take the relevant past studies and then you have to review it. That is this is the base for the problem statement. Based on the review of literature only, the research problems are framed. So review can be focusing on either on theory or method or data what collected. That review of literature is to familiarize yourself with the current state of knowledge on your topic, to ensure that you are not just repeating what others have already done, to identify gaps in knowledge and unresolved problems that your research can address, and to develop your theoretical framework and methodology to provide complete about your topic and debates on the topic and all other related works to be related with the existing research and what new insights will be contribute when you complete your research. This is the review of literature. So review of literature is most important aspect. Everybody should start with the review of literature when they go for the research work. Then methodology. So the methodology is nothing but how you are going to take the research, what is the method you are going to adopt for different purposes. Say first one is population. In methodology, population. First you must define what is your population. Population in the sense, according to your problem, what is the whole population in the sense whole, not sample. Out of the sample you are going to take some out of the total population, you're going to take sample for your study. So the population is the entire the unit of the what you are going to take sample out of it. That is what we call it as the population. The sampling frame is, say for example, suppose in a city there will be 10,000 or 20,000 people may be there, but this 20,000 people may be the population for your study, but you cannot take entire population as the for your study, but you have to take some sampling frame in the sense, based on what record you are going to take samples among the population. So sampling frame form part of the your sampling. It is the base for your sampling. Say for example, as I was telling you, in a city there may be 10,000, 20,000 people may be there. Those who have telephone, earlier days the telephone directory was there. So out of the telephone directory, if you take samples, that telephone directory form parts of the sampling frame. Say for example, suppose if you want to know how many gents, how many females are there in the population in the Coimbatore, say for example, you can go to a census record, then you can take out the data from the census record. So census record form part of the sampling frame. Then next one is the sampling size. The sampling size is nothing but how much sample you are going to take for your study, say 100, 200, 300, 400, but the sampling size should be determined with the scientific method by using the scientific models which is given in the research methodology. Any books you take, now the method is there. By using that method, you can cull out the samples, you can take the samples. Then sampling size, you have to decide, no, the 100, 200 as I was telling. So the sampling size should be decided according to your study. Unless otherwise sampling size is pertinent and apt, your study will not give you the robust result. So when you have to take care and you have to give lot of importance while you select the sampling size. The next one is the sampling method. Then what is the sampling method you are going to take? Say there are so many methods are available, but the suitable method must be adapted for your study. Then period of study. Say for example, when you take the secondary data, the period of study is more important. But whereas when you take this primary data, the period of study is not important. Say when you take the primary data, in the sense when you collect through questionnaire from the first-hand informations, the period of sample doesn't make any sense. So the period of study will be applicable only for the secondary data. Suppose if you want to study the performance of a particular industry in India for a 10-year period, so that period of study will be 10-year period, say 1990 to 2000 or 2000 to 2010, like that. So sampling period will be the period for which you are going to take the data and analyzing for that. So that period should be taken into consideration. It is applicable only for the secondary data, not for primary data. The data, again, data is more important. What are all the data you are going to take, how you are going to take, then what data, you have to clearly mention what are all the data you are going to take, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. What are all the data you are going to take? Well in advance you have to decide, then only you will be able to collect the data. Otherwise, you will end up with a lot of problems without sufficient data. So hence you have to collect the data very carefully, and then you decide what are all the data to be collected. Otherwise, you will not be able to find out when you go for the analysis, you will find it very difficult to analyze the data and get the correct result. Then method of data collection. Say, then in the research, there are two type of research is there. One is qualitative research, another one is the quantitative research. So when you go for the qualitative research, you definitely the qualitative research are, you know that you are going to study many attributes like quality of a person, say emotional of a person, or perception of a person, or personality traits of a person, like that. When you go for this kind of studies, then you need the primary data. These are all the qualitative in nature. These are all qualitative in nature, hence you need primary data. Whereas when you go for the secondary data, like suppose if you want to study the performance of a company, so you need the secondary data, the data already published by the company regarding the profit, sales, turnover, assets, etc., etc., etc. So these are all will be collected from the already published source. So the secondary data will be collected for the quantitative studies, whereas the primary data will be collected for the qualitative studies. So how you are going to collect the data, you must very clearly see, based on your objective, based on your problem, you have to decide what kind of data you are going to collect. So primary data or secondary data. So if it is a primary data, what method you are going to adapt? Say for example, if it is say questionnaire method is there or survey method is there, there are so many methods are there to collect the data. So you have to decide what kind of data you are going to collect. Then only you will be able to identify the target group. Then it will be easy for you to collect the data. Then once you collect the data, you have to go for the pilot study. The pilot study that before collecting the data, say suppose if you frame the questionnaire, you have to go for the pilot study. Why we have to go for the pilot study? Whether the data which you are going to collect will be suitable for your objectives to satisfy or to analyze and identify the solution for the problem or not. So that will be correct. That instrument what you are going to use is correct or not. It has to be tested. So for which you have to go for the pilot study. Pilot study is nothing but the 1 or 2, I mean, say, I suppose if you collect 200 samples, first 10 to 20 samples will be collected and the questionnaire will be distributed to the different target audience, I mean, target sample. Then the data will be collected. If there is any discrepancy or it need to be added or whatever things needed, then that you can add after the pilot study. Then the questionnaire, I mean, whatever the data you have collected and then question you framed should be tested for the validity and reliability of the data. So these are all to be done. Then after that, you have to go for the detailed tools of analysis. These are all the items should be clearly given in the methodology. The tools of analysis and testing of validity, reliability, these are all is the technical side, the purely statistics part. So I'm not going to touch here, but only what are all the items to be given here when you go for the research project. So these are all the items should be given in the methodology. Next, sir. Then the most important aspect in the research project is the deliverables. Deliverables and expected outcomes. What is deliverables? Say we were discussing about the problem statement and we discussed about the objectives, we discussed about the hypothesis, the methods, everything we have seen. All these methods to be followed only to find out the solution. As I was telling, the solution is more important. The solution to be robust and it should be strong enough to support your idea, and it should be answerable to your questions raised in the problem statement. So the deliverables and expected outcome is most important aspect in the the research proposals. So you can ask one question, sir, before doing the research, how we can tell what is the deliverables and our expected outcomes? Yes, you can tell, because after going through the many years and after going through the many materials and reviews and everything, you will be able to understand what is the likely outcome, what will be the findings really going to happen in this study. That must be given well in advance. Then these are all sometimes when you complete the project research, but however, based on your knowledge, you must understand, based on your past studies, you must clearly give your deliverables and the expected outcomes. Unless otherwise, if you give that, the project will not be will not be researchable one. There will not be accepted for the funding as well as for anything. No, so deliverables and expected outcomes should be clearly given. In the deliverables and expected outcomes, there should be summary, salient findings, and then you have to test your hypothesis. Then what is the implications? The implication is what is the effect? This should be given. Then even if you submit the projects to the funding agencies, or if you do PhD work, the scope for further research has to be mentioned. Say you would have done with some objectives, some solution for some problems what you have identified. But when you have to give some scope, how further we can proceed this research, how we can further items can be explored, how we can explore further aspects in the same line. These are all the things to be given. So the scope for research, sometimes the project agencies will accept that item they will ask for it, or otherwise they will not ask for it. So however, expected outcomes are most important, whether it is correct or not, but well in advance you must give it. Yeah, this is what your expectation. So problem you identify, then your expected outcome and what is going to deliver out of this research should be clearly mentioned. This is as far as whatever the items you have seen so far, 10 items, but the 11th item is the most important aspect in any research proposals. Next one. Sir, next one, sir. Hello? Yes, sir. Then this is the chapter scheme. The chapter scheme, normally, the chapter, when you submit the projects after finalizing the project, you must be able to submit the project report. The project report must contain all this. Introduction part should be there. The important concepts and reviews must be there. The methodology, what we have mentioned earlier, that should be clearly given. The results and discussion, that is what outcomes and deliverables and summary findings and implication must be given in the chapter. It is more important for the PhD and MPhil candidates, but whereas when you submit the projects for the funding agencies, they will give you what are the ingredients should be there, what are the essential items should be there. But in general, these are all the items will be given in any research projects that should have the chapter schemes also, so that when you submit the project report, these are all the items should be very clearly mentioned while you submit the project. Next one, sir. Next one. Right. Next one, the time frame. The time frame is most important for the projects. Say when you undertake the MPhil, the MPhil is if you take the part-time MPhil 2 years, if you take full-time MPhil 1 year. But if you take PhD, if you take full-time 3 years, part-time 4 years, unless otherwise you have the MPhil. So in this situation or otherwise, if you submit the projects to the funding agencies, again you must clearly mention all the time frame, because the projects will be either, if it is a minor research project given by the UGC, that will be for 1 year. If it is major research project, that is for 3 years. Some other projects will be given for 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, like that, based on the importance of that projects. So the time frame will be given by either by the agencies which is giving you the fund, or otherwise if you go for the PhD or MPhil research, the universities will prescribe what is the time frame you have to submit the research project. So in this situation, the time you have to fix it. The review of how much time you are going to take for review of literature, how much time you are going to take for the collection of data. Likewise, every time you have to prepare the each and every item should be segregated. Then you have to find the time and allocate the time for pursuing all these things. The next one is the budget. The budget is most important aspect. Even if you pursue your MPhil or PhD, you must clearly mention your monetary expenditure items as a budget. Say questionnaire, data collection, analysis, and report writing and preparation of report, and whatever submission fees. These are all to be clearly mentioned, and you have to well in advance you have to plan. If it is a research projects which should be submitted to the educational agencies, then they will be giving you the budget. For each item, say purchase of items will be given. So recurring expenditure will be given, non-recurring or recurring and non-recurring expenditures separately will be given. So based on that, you have to meticulously plan everything. Then you have to propose the budget. Then only you can ask for how much money needed for this project. Even when you go for the MPhil or PhD, you must plan ahead for your expenditures, so that you will not have any problem in future when you go for the research. Whereas when you go for the funding agencies, this is most important aspect. The government or agency will ask you how much expected expenditure for each and every item. They will be giving you the items. Say for recurring means what is the manpower, what is the day-to-day expenses, the miscellaneous expenses, everything they will give you. Then they will tell you how much expenses for what. So based on that, the ceiling limit also will be given to you. Then without deviating that, you have to prepare the within which you have to prepare the budget items. Then you have to submit to the agencies. Next one. Then credentials. Then what is this credentials? Everybody will be seeing this credentials, whether it is a credential of the institution or credential of the researcher, both. The credentials are, say for example, even if you are submitting the PhD or MPhil, this is not important. Whereas when you submit a project or proposal to the funding agencies, these credentials are more important. Say for example, suppose if you want to submit a project to UGC, the institution must have been certified with the 2F and 12B. 12B is more important. Unless otherwise, you are not eligible for the funding from the UGC, AICT or government agencies. So the credentials are, you must understand what are all the requirement, the approval requirement by the various agencies. Then you must have that credentials before applying for the projects. Number one. Number two, about the researcher. The researcher and investigator must have the complete credentials. So what is your past experience? What is your qualification? Say some projects will be given only those who have PhDs. So some projects will not be given on anybody. So say for example, teachers, those who are working in the organization, will be given the minor research projects by UGC. Then whereas the major research projects will be given only for the PhD holders. Likewise, the researcher must have, the investigator must have the complete credential. They have to give complete biodata and complete details should be given as the annexure to the funding agencies. So again, research guide. When you go for the suppose research guidance, say now the government organizations are giving UGC, AICT or the ICSSR giving lot of funds. Unlike earlier period, the giving even crores and 2 crore rupees are sanctioned for pursuing the research. So multidisciplinary research also expected by these are agencies. So hence we need to have the strong research guides to guide us, because it is the multidisciplinary research. Hence it is a multidisciplinary research. You need some research guides. So you have to identify some research guides. So the details and their credential are also to be given. Likewise, co-investigator. Say one research is undertaken by a person, a single person cannot complete the project, but you must have some guides, investigators. So in that case, the complete details about your organization, complete detail about the investigator or by the research who is submitting the research proposal, then the research guide, anybody, if any guide is there, then their credential, then co-investigator credential, these are all must be given to or submitted to the required persons. Next one, sir. Next one, sir. Hello. Yes. Now, this is the concluding part. These are all the items you have seen, but you will be confused, sir, what is first, what is next, how we have to proceed. Even it may be the research proposal for submitted for funding agencies or your PhD or MPhil research. So this is the process you must carry out one by one. This is the steps. This is the process. What is first, what is second, what is third, that is more important. The first you have to identify the problem, that is title and problem. Then how we can find out the problem? We must be, we have to aware of the surroundings. We have to aware of the environment. What are all the problems are coming? Say for example, today we have the problem of COVID-19, the coronavirus. So what are all the emerging areas out of this? So many webinars are conducted. So many problems evolved and emerged after this COVID-19. So you have to identify, you have to look out for the problems that for which you need analytical mind. Whatever problem you have, whatever the item you read, whatever the problem you see, you must have the analytical mind, so that you can have that one issue as a problem, then you can find the solution for that. So first you must identify the problem. then you have to go for the review of literature. I explained what is review of literature already. The review of literature will give you the complete insight about the past, present, and what you are going to do. So once you identify the problem, then the relevant studies and relevant past literature should be collected and reviewed to understand what is past, then what is present, what are you going to do. So the review of literature will give you the complete idea what you are going to do. Then this will give you the gap. That will, you have to identify, after reviewing the literature, you must be able to identify the gap. What is the existing result? Then what new things you are going to do? The new things only will be accepted. So already proven or existing things will not be accepted. Since what things you are going to newly you are going to undertake. So that will give you a complete insight after reviewing the literature. So once you identify the research problem, the first next main issue, main step is you have to review the literature and you have to identify the gap. Once you review the literature, you have to identify the gap. This is the process. First, you have to identify the problem, then you have to go for the review of literature. Then once you complete the review of literature, you must be able to identify the gap. What is the research gap? What is the new things you can take it out? How we can pursue further this research with a new dimension. Either the new dimension or new research gap, either maybe theoretical background or analytical background, or the data what already used, you might use the different data sets for identifying the problems or identifying the solution for the existing problem. So the third, the process is the identification of research gap. Then you have to frame the problem statement, then frame the objective, then formulate the hypothesis, then finalize the methodology based on the research problem and objectives. Then you collect the data and analyze and prepare the report. This is the process. So already we discussed what are all the items to be taken, how we have to take, what are all the things to be done. But this is the process. You would have confused when I present all the reports. I have given the complete detail about the research essentials, but this is the process. First, you have to identify the problem, review literature, then identify the research gap, then frame the problem statement, then frame objective, then formulate hypothesis, then finalize the methodology. Methodology in the sense, right from the method of data collection to analysis of tools which are you going to use for the analysis. Then data collection, then analysis part, then you have to finally, you have to prepare the report. The report based on the requirement of the agencies. Say, suppose if you submit the PhD thesis, then according to the university, you have to prepare the report. If it is a funding agency, then according to the funding agency's requirement, you have to prepare the report. But everything we discussed earlier, what are all the ingredients and essential things should be there in the report and everything. But each and every item is the separate item to be discussed in length and breadth. But this is the overview I have given. I think with this you can prepare. At least this is only eye opener. What I want to tell you is, it is I cannot say that you have understood everything, but you have to do lot of homework. But only I have thrown some light and I have given you some overview about the essentials of the research proposals. Thank you, sir. This is what my complete idea. Then at last, I would like to thank each and every one of you for having listening me patiently. Then I thank at this juncture for having given me a wonderful opportunity to interact my ideas to all the participants in the webinar. I once again thank you all. I thank office bearers of this ASF ASM for having given me a wonderful opportunity. Once again, we will meet. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Rammurthy, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, since we are running short of time, we'll go to the next session, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Next session will be handled by Dr. Jayakumar, sir. Dr. Jayakumar, sir, is the head and professor of Department of Bioinformatics. He would be taking a session on how to get funding for our proposals in India and abroad. You can go ahead, Jayakumar, sir.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. I thank Association of Self-Finance College Teachers Association, its president, Dr. Ajit, and other office bearers. giving me these wonderful opportunities. The first session is by my good friend and syndicate colleague, Dr. Ramamurthy. He nicely talked about how to write the research proposal. So in continuation, I am going to talk on various funding agency, particularly Indian funding agency, and also the international funding agency. So it should be a nice, we both well known to each other and good friends come on the same day. And actually my talk is a continuation of him. That way my talk come in the second. It's also a good thing. Now I will be go to share my screen, and as I said, I am going to talk today. It is the national and international funding opportunities, various funding agency available, and how to, what are the various type of fundings is available, particular to the arts teacher, science teachers, like that. Mainly make how much interesting it is as possible by giving a brief introduction, then go for the actual websites. So many of them know this information. This talk, I just want to sensitize how college teachers, apart from his own research teaching work, they can go for a researcher. So in educational institutions, like whether a university or college, we have some primary responsibility. So the first one, everybody know, that is the teaching. Then creating some learning resources, that also related to the teaching activity. Apart from the teaching, the next two activities will be the carrying research work and the projects. So this is the first session. Then guiding the people for the research. Suppose we have do some projects, then automatically the guiding the research scholars and other things also will come. The third one is the extension program or outreach. So apart from the teacher, definitely I feel we should be good in one more additional thing. Some people, they should not much in research, they will be do some outreach programs and the extension. Some people, apart from the teaching, because teaching is our primary thing, they will be have a research interest. As per the interest, we can contribute in the extension programs or research programs. Both, later we can get some consultancy based services and also earn some money and other things. So these two extension activities, I feel always a good for a teacher. For example, Jaykumar, myself, best known for a researcher. Apart from teaching, I will not involved in much in the extension activities earlier in my 20 years of the career. Later, after coming into the syndicate, I do a lot of administration and other tasks. So because I am much identified as a core research person, I wish to give you a talk on the various research funding opportunities. So if apart from the teacher, we move as a researcher, so we should need some additional things. The first one is very, very much important in that we should have a strong research interest and motivation. These two are the two major things if we want to be a successful researcher apart from the teacher. We should do have a research interest and also the motivation. Apart from that thing, two additional things, because we are involved in an academic institution, they should support both academically, administratively, financially. We need some clerical and other staffs. So those kind of support should be given by the host institution where we are working. Then personal support, because research is not as easy as teaching or some kind of the extension activity. So we should found something novel or interesting which is not reported earlier. So both administrative and a family level, then our health, age, also other factors, we should be do the good research. The first two, interest and motivations, are very much important. So this is a small brief intro, we can say. Now I can go for the funding. So there should be the various. So my primary is the national and international. So various funding opportunities are available: institutional, local level, state government, central government, international, company. Suppose company, they need some R&D, NGOs and other things. But I going to highlight mainly the national and the international funding in my today's presentation. So all you know, there are plenty of funding agencies are available. So briefly, some of the major activities of the funding agency, particularly UGC is the main affects body. I can talk much about the UGC. Apart from UGC, what are some of the special things available in other funding agencies like AIC, TG, CSIR, DRDO, and other things like for the arts, social science, ICSSR, historical research, and other things I am briefly introduced. Majority of the talk I put into the UGC, which is the affects body in the funding. These are the funding agencies available for funding. So these are the various funding agencies mainly support the research. So they will have some limited funding here, particular focused projects, such a things. But apart from these, different ministries and the government departments also do some big fundings for some major focused areas. So a brief thing about this kind of ministry, what kind of fundings and other things also available. Also briefly introduced in my talk. So this is also one of the important slide. Suppose we write funding and do some research, but when compared to international, our Indian funding scenario is somewhat different. So when you write the proposal and apply to the funding, so this is the real state of the art of the Indian funding scenario. So this everybody, now India government and non-government bodies with a limited amount providing monetary grants for scientific or any kind of research. So science and technology, social science, humanities, management, all. But currently, one of the major drawback is most of the academic research is aimed at gaining publication in the peer-reviewed journal. So far, Indian research, the patent, product development, so those are very, very less important or less priority given, like that environment we build. That is the major problem our Indian funding scenario. So far, we are writing the projects and doing the research. One of the major, even universities, IIT, IIC, like well established, they put the publication in the peer-reviewed journal. Because of the quality of the research, it should be in some kind of high impact or low impact journal. Only the aim currently is in the peer-reviewed journal. So most of the research is not commerciable product. That is the major drawback. Nowadays, it is very difficult to get the funding, these kind of things. So when presently, because this is a non-profit government agency, majority they're giving the funding when we do. Presently, as per the present government, the scenario is changing. So apart from publication, we do make a product. So that is, or collaborate with the industry. So those kind of things, the current funding requirements are there. So then about the funding opportunities. So mostly people think research funding means it is only for the science teachers. So the science teachers, many agencies are available, starting from the UGC, DST, DBT, ICMR, AICTU, like that, the list keep on go. But arts teachers, the funding is limited apart from the UGC, like Indian Council of Social Science Research, Indian Council of Historical Research, CIIL for language related. But the arts teacher really do some additional research work in the domain, he will be there. Many government departments, they will be give big funding for arts also. This level you can initiate. That also introduced somewhat in my presentation. So UGC is the major funding agency. First, various funding opportunities. I will be go to the UGC. What are the funding agency? Then briefly introduce the funding opportunities available in the other funding agencies. In the UGC also, I am not just to say the individual funding, because most of the arts college teachers, they are involved more, the teaching load is more. The participant level, there should be much more than I think 200 to 300 people are in the participant now. Most of them are college teacher, your teaching load is more. Apart from that, colleges, you should be involved in so many other administrative tasks. So it is try to get the various development grants available from the UGC to the colleges. So that fund, if you get, it will be give the department level and college level also. So your management or administration will be also very happy. You should bring such a department or the college level funding. So from the UGC, there should be the guideline what kind of college level or the institute level funding is available. So it is about a 24-page booklet. It is available, and it is available in the UGC in the following link. So these kind of a particular research funding, these are the core funding a college or a department can apply, and getting is very easy. When I go through this, the two condition only they are mentioned is these fundings are open to the institution. They should have a NAC accreditation, and the institution has 12B status. These are the only the two conditions put it in this UGC guidelines. It is a private college, autonomous college, government college, nothing. Some buildings, some other grants also available, which I skipped. That is mainly to the government college. The infrastructure development, that is to government and government aided college. But the development grant, they not put any restriction like it is to the government colleges or a government aided colleges. Only the colleges must have a NAC accreditation and also a 12B status. That is the two conditions. So here I will be introduced what are the various type of funding in the development grant. So it is available very interestingly. I found this development grant available to the small colleges, to the ladies or women's colleges, the colleges in the rural environment, colleges with some good percentage of SC, ST students. So these kind, the development grant, they put into different categories, mainly for a small colleges, colleges in a rural background, specific funds to only women's college, colleges with good number of students in the ST, SC, ST category, like this. So what kind of opportunities, what are the fundings will provided by the UGC? It is given in the coming slides. The complete information is available to the earlier booklet I shown it, and also the web URL I show. Anybody, any faculty member contributing and apply for this department level or the college level funding, then they download and they verify the UGC document. So this is a college with minimum 7 teachers with about 250 to 500 student, then it should be 6 lakh. If the college strength is 500 to 1000, then that development grant will be 7 lakh. If it is 1000 to 2000, then it should be 8 lakh, like that. Above 3000, it should be 10 lakh. This is a general funding available for the small colleges. If the college has not only arts, they do lot of field and other extension work also apart from the thing. Then if the colleges with 10 permanent faculty member, they have a arts, science faculty also. Earlier only it is arts colleges. Then they will give some small increase in amount. If 10 permanent staff member with the student 200 to 500, the earlier cases it is 6. They have a science subject also, then it is increased here 8 lakhs, like that 9 lakhs, 10 lakhs. If the strength is above 3,000, here it will be go up to 12 lakhs. Then other assistants to women's colleges in the background area, at least some number of SC, ST staff members. Such a colleges, they have a student strength of up to 200, 6 lakhs, 200 to 500, 7 lakh, 500 to 1,000, 8 lakh, above 3,000, it is 11 lakhs. So this is the additional other categories with multi-faculties and other things. The amount is slightly, gradually going higher. Then some of the specialized departments you can start, that also has some kind of funding. So your multi-faculty colleagues with some professional courses, some job-oriented, some novel courses, a college will start, then they will be funded 1 lakh for that particular course. So the example for classical language, so that kind of courses with 5 teachers, about 60 to 100 students, then it is 2 lakhs, 100 to 200, some 3 lakhs, 200 and above, 4 lakhs. Then for law, physical education, social work, music, dance, fine arts, like this one focused area courses, they also give some kind of funding that is mentioned. These, the earlier fundings are mainly for the colleges with only the undergraduate thing. So all the slides, 4 or 5 slides. So the funding ranges from about 6 lakhs to 12 lakhs. They will be given as a development grant to the colleges. Any interested teachers or a group of teachers, they can plan. So those are the things the colleges offer, only UG courses. If the college has a PG program, so they also give art, science, commerce. For the development grant, they have some criteria. So here, if the college has PG, at least in each department, 2 faculties must have MPhil or PhD. In some specialized commerce, it is arts, 2 faculties must have MPhil or PhD. If it is arts, then 3 faculties must have MPhil or PhD. Minimum 6 faculties should be there. There minimum 4 faculties out of the 3 must have MPhil or PhD. So they will be get the department wise, the particular PG department. So apart from that, that department has that department related 3 journals. They must subscribe, 1 major project or 3 minor projects should be undergoing in that particular department, and the students' strength of that particular PG course will be 20. So a department with practical, mainly science department, they give the 2 lakhs per department. The commerce, such a department, they have a lot of field visit. Then they do, then it is 3 lakhs per the department. So all this information are available in the DBT development guidelines document, which one I first showed, about 24 to 25 pages document. Really, I don't know how easy, because I am from the university side, but it is a good kind of funding available in the college level as far as the PG department level, with fulfill some certain criteria. So the participant think, suppose anybody from the rural background with a limited number of courses, you can maybe act as a coordinator to first to get the funding. Getting the funding, let us spend that fund as per the UGC rule is a kind of fun experience you can get, and try to establish something in the department level or college level. The computer lab and other things can be established, I think, using this kind of. This will slowly motivated. You can get how to getting the fund from the funding agency and effectively use that funds. Later it will be go for a independent or individual research proposal. Similarly, UGC schemes are available for autonomous colleges. I think most of the autonomous colleges, some of the colleges, I was in some of the committees also I visit, they have a special provision, block grant. So this most of the colleges already have. So this scheme is only for the earlier one is open to all the colleges. They put only the main condition, the college is NAC accredited and has a 12B standard. So that is called a development grant. So this block grant is mainly open to the autonomous colleges or a government institutions only. So this is a particular thing. Mostly all the autonomous or the government institution will get. Already people will familiar with this. So for the completion, I put the slide. So I hope this webinar is organized by mainly Self-Finance College Association. Most of the participants from self-financing colleges. The earlier slides and the guideline booklet may be useful to all of them to get some idea about the development grants available in the UGC. Apart from this, one more interesting funding, it is CoHOSIP, it is called. I think it is also open to all colleges. They can get a 5 lakh grant. Most of some of the reputed colleges, they have using this, they build the new teaching method, interdisciplinary approaches for teaching, AV, computer, improvement of the study habits, some journals. I think bioinformatics, where I am involved, this interdisciplinary approach, bioinformatics is one very well fit with the life science disciplines and also the computer science discipline. One university professor should be act as a mentor, and they will be give the 5 lakhs rupees, motivate the students in the interdisciplinary. As per my knowledge, 2 colleges in Coimbatore has this. One is the PSG Krishnamal College. They have a life science with bioinformatics interdisciplinary. Earlier, I was one of the mentor for this program. The second one college is Nirmala College, where the computer science has the same interdisciplinary grant, which is in the bioinformatics. 2 university professors to be the mentor, they give the advice in that line. So the bioinformatics. So myself and another professor from Periyar University in the Nirmala College latest. I think this is also open to all colleges. They have applied. So these kind of programs also the faculty members try to apply as a department level for a mainly for the interdisciplinary research. So these are the common in the department or the college level. Apart from this, UGC has many other special schemes that any individual, as per the skills and their interest, they can apply. Special studies, Buddhist studies, Gandhian studies, Nehru studies, Ambedkar, like something related to Indian historical things, you can apply and get some grants to start kind of a certificate or a diploma kind of this kind of program. protection of university level book. Commonly it is available as per the curriculum. You have to write, you are interested in writing, so that also you can get some funding. Finally, these are the things very common, maybe DRS or DSA grant. This is science or DSA, the department level. This is applicable to the university. The final one is major and minor research project. I think arts, it will be give 5 lakhs, for science up to 20 lakhs. It should be given for the major project. Minimum minor project, it is 1 lakh for arts and 5 lakhs for science. But these are the grants are bit competitive level. You have to write a good research proposal and try to get such a scheme. Then next,
thank you, sir. There are some so we are running short of time for the second session. We will share the slides with the YouTube, sir, if you don't mind, sir.
Okay, few more slides. I can another 5 to 10 minutes. I can take. I run my slides some
Yes, sir.
quickly.
Please, sir.
I can run quickly because only UGC I take much time. Others
Yes, sir.
are mostly routine things, so I can go quickly.
Okay. Please, sir.
And later you can share the slides in the
Yes.
in the Facebook, some other
YouTube, we can share it, sir.
YouTube you can.
Because
share.
the next speaker, Sri Stalin Gunasegaran, is already.
Okay. So this is for the individual JRF, and some other fellowships are available. The salary and other things on the fellowship. Only one new thing is the new schemes. Now the SWAYAM, MOOC and other things. You can write a e-content development, some projects also, you will get some funds. So only UGC I will give the major pictures. This I am just some slides I am just running. So all are common. Some it is not necessary. So same kind of things. What are the opportunities? What kind of things? Like later you can YouTube some special schemes only. So these are the DST. What are the stipend and other things? The special things I just highlighted. Then CSIR, ICMR, DBT, so only for the biotechnology or life sciences. Then the international funding. So various funding association, Commonwealth, British Council, Ford Foundation, Foundation Fulbright Commission. See, these things are there. So these are the list. Particularly one Commonwealth funding is British Marshall Scholarship. Such a things are interesting. So I give the web URL for that particular thing. Finally, our state level, there are 2 bodies, Tamil Nadu State Council for Higher Education, Tamil Nadu State Council for Science and Technology. They have a very small funding also, that website. So now I give the URLs. So various funding agents URL, already you know, I just synthesize. You can get various funds available in the Indian funding. So these are some of the international funding agency I put. So these are the URLs of the international funding agencies. So for this, how to raise the good proposal, earlier Professor Ramamurthy continued, that also some of the tricks of the fund writings also available in this following URLs. So you can verify they are the international, how to write the. So now I will come into my end, that is the take home message. So which funding agency will be interested in your funding? You can just select and apply for that particular funding. So you will get some financial things that also you can plan. So read as per the need, read, revise with your friends, and finally submit the good funding agency for the appropriate funding procedure. There should be a cycle of things you can take care on thing. Once you got the grant, that should be a good thing. One by one, the beginning, maybe it is difficult. So it should be a big joyful, we will get our own funding and utilize it. So I will come into the end of my talk. So thank you everybody for, if you are any, particularly in my research funding in the life science or computer science related thing, any help, you can always write to me in my email address or contact me. I thank again the Self Finance Association for giving me this wonderful opportunity, share some of my thoughts. I thank its president, Dr. Ajit, and the other office bearers. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sir Jayakumar sir. So the participants can spend more time to hear your
Yes.
speech in the YouTube, and they can contact you also directly, sir. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Thank you. Thank you very much.